Hey, I'm Dr. Baruch Levy, also known as B. Thanks for tuning in. I'm recording this video to bring into life the blog that I just wrote. I wrote the blog first, but then I got a request to do a video, or should do a video around it. And my kids always tell me I'm a little out of touch. People don't read blogs, so I've shifted a lot over to podcasting and videos. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Let's give this multiple medium to communicate to the world because it's that important. So, as the blog talks about, as I'm sure you've read about ad nauseum, literally to make you nauseous, the terrorist attacks in Israel, as I'm recording this, happened 4 or 5 days ago. Feels like it just happened, and it continues to happen because every time I turn on the news, I hear something even more horrific. When I thought it couldn't get worse, it gets worse. Now, I'm an ordained rabbi. I practiced as a rabbi for many years. I stopped practicing as a rabbi. I don't really identify as a rabbi anymore. Always will be a rabbi. And I used to have a platform to share these things when they would come up, and unfortunately, they always come up as a Jew. The world has hated us. Clearly, the world continues to hate us. Certainly, Hamas does. And I've turned my work into my platform to express myself. Now, normally my work revolves around the work of Dr. Viktor Frankl, logotherapy, meaning-centered psychotherapy and living, the Enneagram, this beautiful picture you can see behind me, and never get into politics. I didn't get into politics when I was a rabbi, by the way. I know there are many different opinions on every single topic under the sun. I know that when it comes to the Israel-Palestinian conflict, it's as complicated as could be. If you haven't figured it out, you're not alone. It's pretty much stifled, if not brought down, every American president since the formation of the State of Israel. This thing is complicated. It's long, it's nuanced, it's deep. So I don't talk politics. This ain't politics. I'm recording this video, and I wrote that blog, and I'll probably do a few more because I'm not interested in the political aspects of the Israeli-Arab conflict or the Israeli-Palestinian peace conversations. I'm not interested in solving geopolitical problems. I'm not even interested at this point in figuring out a two-state solution, so how these two groups can live side by side. I am Israeli, I should say, and I am an American, and so I do have a vested interest in making it work, but that's not what I use my professional platform and my voice for. What I use it for, and what I'm using it now for, is to help people find deeper meaning in their lives and greater purpose for their lives and cultivate resilience in all aspects of their lives. And you can't have any of that, and you can't do any of that if we are lost morally, if we have no inner compass, if we have strayed from just the fundamental decency and truth about what it means to be a human being, but also what it means to forfeit our right to being human, to our humanity. Hamas crossed the line. Hamas has been in the business of terror since their formation and their foundation. Sometime was it in the mid 80s? Read their charter. Like, I get it that in our liberal Western mindset, which is part and parcel of the way that I look at the world, part and parcel of the way I look at the world, that we want to believe that people are fundamentally good. They want to do the right thing. This is not them. This is not that. Hamas says in their charter, paraphrasing, but not by much, they want to annihilate Israel and exterminate Jews. They have said that from the outset. Now, we haven't wanted to believe them. Most Israelis I know are liberal, they're secular. They haven't wanted to believe them. The world certainly hasn't wanted to believe them. There are people protesting right now against Israel and in support of Hamas who don't want to believe them. It's time to believe them. They mean what they say. And how do we know that? Because of what's happened in Israel over the past 5 days. Unprecedented atrocities. Now, maybe precedented by the Nazis. However, even the Nazis had the good sense to at least try and cover up their crimes as the war was winding down. They had some modicum of conscience, maybe. Clearly, they at least didn't want to get busted for war crimes, crimes against humanity. That's not Hamas. Hamas, in fact, has videoed their atrocities, their acts of horror. There's conspiracy theories already out there saying this is the Jews, these are the Israelis creating these horrific videos. These are footage. This is footage from Hamas itself. They not only don't care about these atrocities. They celebrate them, and they want them to be seen by the world. What Hamas did inside of Israel proper has no historical context. It has no political justifications. The people who are protesting against Israel and for the Palestinians and for Hamas need to think a second time. This is evil, pure and simple. Murdering babies, many babies. I said 40 babies and they decapitated those babies. Somebody said, I get the most lovely and the most horrific emails. Somebody said, I don't think it was 40 decapitations. I think it was 40 murdered babies. Are you kidding me? Like, in what world do we live in where one murdered baby is somehow acceptable or justifiable, or anybody would even potentially attempt to do that, let alone kill the child? That was just a footnote in the atrocities of the 1,000 murdered civilians, almost all of them civilians, in the abductions, in the rapes, women dragged out by their hair in front of their husbands and raped and murdered, children shot in car seats, bloody car seats. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it together here. Again, decapitated children, kidnapped children, children who were raped, women who were raped. We have first-hand account from Hamas terrorists saying they were ordered to rape women and children. The list of horrors goes on and on. Look at the pictures. I encourage you to listen to Ben Shapiro. Like his politics, don't like his politics, it doesn't matter. The past 3 days, he has committed himself to showing the world the evils in footage, not for gratuity, but we need to look at that because our Western liberal mindset says it can't be. It's not possible. Just like Americans said at the early stages of the Holocaust, it can't be. It's not possible. It has been, and it is possible, and Hamas has been doing this. Burnt out homes and cars with charred remains of Jews. This shouldn't be surprising. Why? Because again, they said this was their intention. This was not only their intention, these were their actions. And this is what we're up against. And when I hear the protesting going on in New York, people celebrating Hamas, this is what Hamas stands for. They don't stand for anything other than death and destruction to the Jewish people. They don't want peace. They don't want negotiations. They don't care about the Palestinians. Let's be clear about that. Every time Israel goes in for an airstrike in Gaza, they have been forced to do that at this point. They are now their hands are tied. They have no choice but to go in and do what they're doing. And they send leaflets and they send text messages and they let them know they're coming. And what does Hamas do? They intercept those messages or they hold their people at gunpoint and say, stay put, because they want their people to die. This is why they've put their weapons caches in school buildings. It's why the Hamas military headquarters is underneath the hospital. I think it's in Gaza City. They want people to die. They have said quite clearly on many occasions, they revere death. They celebrate death. And they say that's why they'll win, because the Jews revere and celebrate life. They have said in both words and action, they care more about their cause than they do about their kids, which is why they use them as pawns, which is why they hide behind them right now and use them as human shields. And that's exactly what they're doing. Blood is on the hands of Hamas for war crimes, for genocide, for doing the unspeakable to men, women, children, elderly, Holocaust survivors, handicapped. They are responsible for every death up until this point, but certainly from this point on in the Gaza Strip, for Israel having to go in there and find their hostages and eradicate Hamas. It's plain and simple. Please, please, please think a second time before you start waving a Hamas flag poster or wrapping yourself in the Palestinian flag. I get it. I want to support the Palestinian people. I want to support the civilians caught in harm's way. But right now, that's not what these protests are. That's not what these rallies are about. They are saying death to the Jews. Look at the video down in Sydney. The pro-Palestinian gathering was clearly a death to the Jews gathering. Gas the Jews. Gas the Jews. The same thing has taken place in in London and in Paris and in New York City, where they were clapping and they were celebrating every time kidnapping and death of Jewish civilians were mentioned. This is not about the Palestinians and the Israelis. This is not about Middle East peace. This is not about a two-state solution. This is not about the past. This is not even about the future. This is about right here and right now, and morality and decency, and whether or not you stand with a group that not only has called for the annihilation of Jews, but have set out to exterminate the Jews. If that's what you believe, I just want to know where you stand. I want to take you for your word, just like we need to start taking Hamas for their word. If you participate in this, if you support this cause, if you get out there and promote or condone or equivocate or explain away what this group of monsters has done, then you've made your bed and you've stated your case, and we know which side you're on. It is time to make a choice, not whether you support Israel or whether you support the Palestinian people, but whether we all will come together and call evil evil, and say never again and mean it, and stand firmly on this moral center. Never again must mean never again. And it doesn't just happen with Israel fighting Hamas. And it doesn't just happen with Jews speaking out, warning the world that this stuff is true. It happens when you, an average, ordinary human being, says enough and is enough. Today we are all Israelis. Today we are all Jews. Today we are all being attacked by evil. And evil, we must respond one way and act one way, and that is never again. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Thank you for sharing it and the blog, and I will be writing more. I can't not write more. This is my way in participating in the fight against evil and for good. Am Yisrael Chai. The Jewish people will not only survive, we will thrive, and we will celebrate life and liberty and love, and we will pass that on to the Palestinian people and to the Arabs around the world and to our Muslim brothers and friends and whoever you are, wherever you are, if you stand with us in morality and live and embody and say never again.